Woodford Reserve Double Oaked whiskey. Fine bourbon, as you can tell. I'm almost done this bottle. It was given to me as a birthday gift a couple months ago. So we're going to do a little bit of a taste test. We have not done whiskey reviews on this channel in a few years. If you are new to this, I do occasionally do a season, maybe 10, 12 videos in a row. They'll come out on a different day than my cooking or reaction videos. So it won't take away from any of that content. And we're just going to add what a chef's seasoned palate thinks of different whiskeys. Now, a friend of mine bought me this, like I said, for my birthday. So we're going to try it a few ways. If you remember, I used to have, and I still do, a whiskey scorecard inspired by Doug DeMaro's car reviews.
Up and the Doug score is 53 out of 100, which places it here against some other sporty cars from this era. The RX-8 is near the bottom.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a sip of this, see how it tastes, and then we'll try a couple different variations. Now, I used to do with a pop mixer, and I no longer drink pop. Plus, you shouldn't be mixing this with pop anyways. So we're going to replace the pop mixer with a water category. Now this is just straight. Give it a little bit of a swirl. Now no, I'm not using a fancy whiskey tasting glass. And why is that? Because some of you don't have those. Some of you do. Now you can see, if you know anything about wine, you'll know about the legs and the upside down U's. I don't know why they don't call them N's, but the thicker the legs, the runnier that is. Or not the runnier, the thicker that is, the more alcohol content. And this is 45.2% alcohol. That would be like 90.4 proof. Oh, I'm getting notes of toffee. Ooh, right back here. You can definitely feel it there. So I've been pounding this bottle back, not pounding it back, but as a rule of thumb, when you're opening a bottle of whiskey, to the halfway point, you have 2 years. From when you crack it to halfway, you have about 2 years before you lose enough flavor that it's not worth it. Okay? Once you pass that halfway point, you got 6 months. So I was gifted this in December. We're in March now, so I'm well within my time to drink a bottle of whiskey. Okay, so that taste of it, just straight up, not really, like just out of the bottle onto the into the glass, I would give that a good solid 8 out of 10. Let's put it on the rocks. Let's see if cooling it down does anything to it, right? Because this is how a lot of you are going to order it. You're going to say, can I get a whiskey on the rocks? All right, now that we've got it on the rocks, and this is the same pour. You know, chilling it out a bit is really opening that toffee up. It smells a lot like Halloween candy. I'm not getting the burn of the alcohol anymore either, with it being chilled. It's dulling its effect a bit. So if you want a full flavor, you're going to want to just drink it neat. If you want to dull it a bit, take a little bit of the burnout from the alcohol. Not everybody enjoys that. And you're going to put it on the ice, and it also opens up that toffee smell. On the ice, on the rocks, I'm going to call this, I think it improves the flavor. So I'm going to give this like an 8.5. 8.5 out of 10. Okay, so now I need another glass. Okay. So we're going to take another pour. All right, now we've got a standard pour. We're going to add some water, okay? I'll just do this over my ice glass in case I spill any. but we're going to go equal part water. Because that's how I've been drinking this. I've been drinking this equal water and a little bit of ice. It mutes it a lot. It really does. It mutes it. So we'll put a little ice in there. I wouldn't have it with just water. When you put some ice in here and cool it down, it brings back a little bit. There's just that combination of the two. The temperature and watering it a bit. Maybe, you know, half and half is a little too watery for some of you. You might want to go half and a shot, a pour of whiskey with a half pour of water. I mean, it depends how fast you're going to drink, because as the ice melts, it's going to introduce water. If I'm having one of these, I have one of these. I have it quick in about 10 minutes, and then that's it. It makes it a refreshing, light, easy drink. Like, this is, you're getting more away from whiskey at this point because the water's muted it. You're getting more into, like, cocktail strength for whiskey. Like, it's turned it from a heavy, ooh, we're drinking whiskey, to a, ooh, we're just having a drink. And this actually has become a lighter, refreshing version of itself. Like, this is something you could have after mowing the lawn. You know, I would say some people feel like bourbon is I'm not getting divorced, we're not drinking bourbon tonight. Like, that's kind of the mentality with some of these heavier, higher flavor bourbons, we'll say. Because it's very condensed. So when you add some water and ice and chill it and dilute it a little bit, it brings it back into that realm of, whew, it's the middle of the day, I mowed the lawn, I got more stuff to do, but if I have a nice refreshing whiskey drink, this is the way to go. I'm going to call this, like, it's better than On the Rocks, to me, because it adds that refreshing aspect. But it's not 9 out of 10 territory either. So I'm splitting hairs and calling this an 8.75. And the reason that this is hard for me is because overall, this is a really good bottle of whiskey. So it's living in that range of, there's probably nothing you can do to it to make it taste like crap. But, you know, it's just in such a tight range where it's how it comes, and then there's what you can do to it. And it's so tight because it starts out so high, and the scale only goes to 10, right? So, like, you've got to, like, taper off on the rating. So we're going to do one final version that we've always done. We've always done On the Rocks, a pop mixer, and a cocktail. And we've replaced the pop mixer with the water, and we've also added a neat version, right? Cocktail I have compared every whiskey to has been the Manhattan. So we're going to take one more pour. Okay, we're going to grab a shaker. We're going to put in our ice. Okay, we're going to take one half pour of vermouth. The problem with buying these big bottles is that the caps get sticky. Especially if you don't have one for a while. Okay. We're going to do 2 dash of bitters. Now, if anybody wants to recommend a better brand of vermouth, I'm always open to changing things up. Just remember, I live in Ontario, Canada, so if you want to check the LCBO's website to make sure that it's available for me to try. Okay, I like to give my Manhattans 20 stirs anti-clockwise. Obviously, you garnish with a cherry if you had one. Oh yeah. That's it right there. As a Manhattan, and again, if you can see these up on the bar, right? These are all one standard beverage. I have 1.5 ounces of whiskey in each one. Just on its own as a Manhattan. That's comforting. And that's relaxing. Right there, that's a 9.5. That is probably the highest scoring Manhattan I've given a beverage. It's got an easeability of drinking, and like that's it right there. This is probably something that my wife's gonna hate me for always keeping this in the house, because here in Ontario, Canada, this is almost a $70 bottle of whiskey. This beats my previous favorite Manhattan. I'm looking down at my scorecard I printed off, and my previous favorite Manhattan beverage at 8 out of 10 was the Canadian Club 100% Rye. And Old Forester's is also a top one too. Those were 7.5 and 8 respectively. But I'm putting this at a 9.5 because it adds a bit of refreshment to it. I wouldn't necessarily want to drink this after mowing the lawn, but it's light enough that I could have it with lunch. Assuming, it's my day off, I got nothing else to do. I'm not promoting drinking all day, every day. I could have that with lunch, have one of those and go back to whatever I was doing. And I could also have that with supper, like as a cocktail with an appetizer before dinner. I can have this as an after dinner drink. Well, there you've had me taste Woodford Reserve Double Oaked in the 750 milliliter bottle at 45.2% alcohol by volume. This is, of course, a Kentucky straight bourbon. So we're going to jump to the scorecard where I'll show it by comparison and we'll get a view of its overall rankings. Well, there you've had our review on Woodford Reserve Double Oaked Barrel Finish Select. This is, of course, the 750 milliliter bottle coming in at 45.2% alcohol. Obviously, I enjoyed this, and I want to throw a big shout out and thanks to my brother Jay for getting me this for my birthday. He knew exactly what I needed. Based off of the score, this is the best whiskey we've ever tasted, and it beats our previous best of the Canadian Club 100% Rye. I always have this big toss-up between, do I like rye, do I like bourbon? It's almost like every other week. If I'm a rye guy, I find a bourbon that beats rye, and if I'm a bourbon guy that week, I find a rye that beats the bourbon. So for me, this week, this is the best whiskey. Coming up, we're gonna do Wild Turkey's Long Branch. That's a Kentucky bourbon. We've also got Templeton Rye, aged 6 years. So who knows, maybe I'll be a rye guy again next week. With that all said, thanks for visiting me here in my bar today. Remember, we're going to do cooking videos on Tuesdays, reaction videos on Sundays, and I'm not quite sure if these are going to fall on Thursdays or Fridays. But thanks for visiting me tonight. I've been Chef James. We've been using my educated palate to find out what whiskeys we like.